This is everyone's favorite wrestler, Rob Van Dam. You know what's up. You're listening to the Solomonster Sounds Off.
All right, Solomonster back with you here on the Sound Off. Have another very special guest joining us, one of the most innovative men to ever step into the ring. He is a former WWE and ECW world champion, simultaneously, I might add, and a former TNA world champion as well. He is the whole effing show, Rob Van Dam. RVD, welcome.
Greetings. Welcome to your own show, sir.
Now, it's funny, I got feedback from people very upset with me that I didn't have you on for episode 420 of the show last week. But it's always 420 when you're around. It doesn't really matter what episode it is.
There you go. That's one way to look at it.
That's right. So I know you're in Houston right now. You just wrapped up a meet and greet for Booker T's Reality of Wrestling promotion, which has its big grand opening in its brand new facility next Saturday. How did the meet and greet go, and what do you think about what Booker is doing down there?
Yeah, the meet and greet was good. You know, a lot of fans came out to meet RVD. Took a lot of photos with a lot of really nice people, and this facility is incredible. It's going to be unlike anything that I've ever seen. Huge facility to hold all of the reality of wrestling. When you go there, it's going to be an experience for people that come in to see a wrestling show. They also have a wrestling school. This thing is going to be able to fit so many different needs because it's like a huge gym. It's like an arena. It's like all kinds of energy rolled up together, and it's they've taken this big building with a lot of space. They put on separation walls and cleaned the floor and hung the lights, and they're working so hard. But by February 6th, Book says it's going to be picture perfect, and that's why February 6th is the day for him, because he knows exactly how long it's going to take for his vision to come through. And there's going to be monitors, he said, hanging from the ceiling, so when you're watching the live wrestling shows, you can see the monitors. And he's talking about even having boxing and all kinds of concerts and all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't even think about when you're thinking about a wrestling show. But the fact is, the whole community is excited to have him here. So I've seen the support from very high ups, and you know, the mall here and the World's Gym, the guy Jerome, everyone, the mayor, Book's hanging out with the mayor. He's got the key to the city, so everyone wants to see him succeed. I know he's going to, and this place is incredible. Wait till you see it.
That's very cool. Now, I mentioned innovation before. I saw you do things in the ring back in the day that I had never seen before, and I'm always fascinated by this. You know, when I spoke to DDP, he was talking a little bit about how he would put matches together and come up with new ideas. I mean, in your case, something like, just for example, the Van Terminator. I mean, is that something that just pops into your head one day and you say, hey, that sounds pretty cool, I think I'll try that?
My approach to the business has always been to be different and to come up with stuff that not only that I haven't seen done before, but that I think would be entertaining to see if I was in the crowd, because I did used to be a wrestling fan. So before my first match, even, I was already thinking, like, I wonder if I can jump up and do the split and land on the top rope in the corner and bounce off my hamstrings and do like I didn't know what a moonsault was back then, but, you know, a backflip, and that became the split leg moonsault. I've always, when I was in high school, I was trying to come up with, invent new moves, and that's always been my approach. That's the wrestlers that I looked up to as a kid were the ones that thought outside of the box. And that is true for my perspective on life outside of the ring. I find that it continues, and I'm usually one of a kind in every field, thinking quite differently than most people. Sometimes it's a strength, sometimes maybe it's a flaw, but I think so far outside of the box, I don't even know where the box is. The Van Terminator in particular was a progression. Before I came to ECW, I said, man, I really need some hardcore moves because I've seen their show. I know what the fans' expectations are, and I wrote down a list of moves. One of them was, I wonder if I could maybe like throw a steel chair up and then jump up and do a jumping spinning back kick and kick the chair into my opponent's face. I just wrote it down like, yeah, you know, that's cool, I'll try that. I had no idea that would be the Van Daminator and it would win the World Championships, and then I would go from there to try to always go the next step and always push it push it up a level, because that's what ECW was about. So now I'm jumping off the top rope. Fonzie's holding the chair for me. I'm kicking the guy's face, and eventually it came to what you're talking about, the Van Terminator, where I would clear the entire ring in a single bound with all the momentum of me flying across the ring, plus my big, strong RVD legs kicking that chair into my opponent's face and crushing it. That was just a natural progression.
Now, I've been talking to a lot of WCW on my show lately, since we're coming up on 15 years since the promotion died. I know you spent some time in WCW very early in your career. You even worked some matches with guys like Raven and Diesel before they were Raven and Diesel. How was your experience working down there?
Well, I was so green at the time that it was like I had a really different perspective on the business. I was still learning where I would fit in and what the dressing room was all about. So I felt when I got there, Bill Watt was the promoter, the booker, and he took a license to me, and I was doing very well while he was in charge. And then I went to Japan for my first trip ever in February of '93 for the competition company of the WCW affiliation. They were with New Japan, and I had already got this trip booked for All Japan. Bill Watts said go ahead and fulfill that obligation. So I went, and I knew right off the bat, my first tour with Giant Baba, I had a job for life. As much as I wanted to come over there, so that was a really good feeling. I came back, and Bill Watts was gone, and Ole Anderson now had the control, and he didn't seem to be too into young Robbie V. So I found myself not happy with what they were doing. They would use me to give wrestlers tryouts. I was doing a lot of dark matches that weren't on TV, and I just felt myself right away losing interest. So I left. I knew I had All Japan, and in fact, that would be my pattern throughout my whole career. When I knew it was time to leave, I always left. And I did that with WCW. I did that with All Japan, ECW, WWE several times, South Atlantic. I always knew when it was time to look.
Now, in ECW, you and Sabu were linked together quite a bit. I know you feuded with him, you teamed with him. You've had a few different tag team partners in your career, Booker T and Kane being some other ones that stand out. Who did you have the most fun teaming with?
Probably Sabu, because Sabu and I are the most like-minded, so we really had a similar vision of what would really be cool to do during a match. And also, he's my brother in such a way that no one else compares to in the industry. You know, I came up with him, and we legitimately have had each other's backs in and out of the ring all over the world. So that, plus the chemistry that comes from having the two of the most hardcore wrestlers, two of the only working wrestlers that can claim to be trained by the original Chiefs. You know, I mean, we're the Chiefs boys. It's just Sabu and me. We're the only ones that are out there as Chiefs boys, and we both have in our own way, you know, done very well to carry out that flavor and that legacy of the Chiefs. So definitely put me with Sabu anytime.
Now, I've read that when Eric Bischoff was interested in buying WCW, this was before the backers pulled out, he was this close enough that he had contacted you about coming in and being the top or one of the top stars in the promotion. Is that true?
There was a time when Bischoff was already running the show. I don't know exactly where this fall. I guess it was. I guess that does ring true, that it was around the time when he was supposed to be dealing with someone called Fusion, I think.
I think Fusion Partners, yeah.
So, but yeah, I usually don't relate it to the money thing, but he was already hiring up all the ECW wrestlers. He was already doing things. This was during the Monday Night Wars, actually, so he was already, you know, thriving and getting ratings for WCW. And I lived in Savannah, Georgia at the time, and when WCW was in town, I went to the arena to say hi to some friends. I think I went there to say hi to Louis Spicoli, but I'm not 100% sure, but that sounds right. And then anyway, I ended up talking to him, and he did offer me a job, and he talked about money and everything. But then I learned the details through phone calls in the next few weeks through Diamond Dallas Page, that they were thinking that I would make a great Mortal Kombat character, that they were getting ready to do this thing with making this video game fighter into a character, and that idea turned me off. I didn't do it. They ended up doing it with Ray Lloyd. He was Glacier. And then when I talked to DDP, I was like, okay, cool. So you guys, you went with this other guy. And he's like, no, it's not too late. There's going to be a whole team of them. We're going to do a bunch of them. And I used that leverage. Everybody thought that I was going to WCW, so people were talking about me. I had the spotlight on me, and I used that leverage to push myself further up the ladder in the business by going to WWF, which Paul Heyman arranged so that I wouldn't quit ECW and go to WCW.
I talked to Booker a few weeks ago about this. The match he had with Triple H at WrestleMania many years ago, it was a similar kind of build with you and Triple H. It was the year before that. You were wrestling him for the world title, and there was one writer who worked for the company at that time who has come out and said, well, he had this idea to put the title on you. I mean, do you recall there being any discussion around that time of you becoming the world champion?
I, as a talent, am usually not privy to any discussions as such. It's not like I sit with the agents or anybody and get told of anything. Usually just on a nightly basis, and even at that, I try to wait as long as possible until I have to hear it. They gotta hunt me down and find me in the arena just so they can tell me who I'm wrestling that night. And I think anyone you ask will back that up. I'm the last guy that's gonna take a writer and try and get him to meet me at Waffle House so I can pitch some ideas to him or something like that. And maybe that has worked against me, because people who do that, maybe they have gotten ahead. But having said that, I never know what anyone else is thinking. And then if someone does say something like, hey, they're talking about this or that, then I usually don't put anything into it anyway. I'm usually pretty skeptical until it happens, so I don't put any weight into it.
Now, you came back to WWE in Philly at their Money in the Bank show a few years ago. I remember being in the building and the roof blew off the place when you walked out. Just talk a little bit about how that whole thing came about and what made you decide that was the right time to come back.
Oh, well, okay, so the way that went down was that I was wrestling for TNA. I had a 3-year contract that I finished, and we were talking about extending the contract. And we talked so much about it that we had all the details of a new TNA contract worked out except for a starting date. All the money, everything was on there, and then I didn't know when we were going to start, but they weren't responding on a timely manner to my request to get said information, and so it felt like they were dragging their feet, and it got to a point where I felt offended. It was like, well, they don't realize I'm not on their show, and who I was talking to was Al Snow. And he was saying that he was put in the middle and that it was Bruce Pritchard, and I really don't know who it was, but I figured even Dixie must realize that I'm home, not on the show. And then they would say like, oh yeah, Al would say, I don't know what told him, we shared the contract Friday, and then a week would go by or whatever. So I went to see my friend Booker T get inducted into the Hall of Fame in New York. I was there for WrestleCon in New Jersey, and of course, people started talking about RVD, and, some talk started going around, and it led to me talking to Hunter about, was there a spot maybe for RVD to come into WWE, because I felt like I didn't feel like I owed TNA anything, and I didn't at that point, and it just worked out really well. I really enjoyed my return in 2013. I think possibly they might have put more promotion into my return than anybody before.
So what is your current status with WWE? I get a lot of questions about that. Are you under any sort of deal with them? I mean, did you have the itch to come back?
So I do not have the itch to come back, and that's why I'm not there. I do have an open door to go back to do a run when, if I do get that itch, but it's not going to be the itch that brings me back, I can tell you that. I'm not like the other wrestlers. I've always, since 1998, I've always found ways to work less for more money. And right now, I'm wrestling a little bit outside of WWE. I had about 10 matches last year, and I'm way, way above market value. I'm not trying to be out there wrestling. I don't want to be out there wrestling. Sometimes somebody will make my money, and I do it. I do. Otherwise, I do some autograph signings and appearances at wrestling shows. I keep in top condition. I'm still able to do everything I've ever been able to do, but everybody else in the dressing room wants it way more than I do, and that can be a problem when you're trying to be at your best. When I'm a professional, and in 2013, I did a 90-day contract with WWE. 66 matches in 90 days. So if you throw in travel days in between that, you can imagine I wasn't home at all. The other wrestlers, they're still excited and happy to be there. For me, I'm counting the days till my contract is off, and so that's just the way it is. I enjoy the connection with the fans when I'm in the ring and getting that energy. I do not enjoy the politics. I don't enjoy the egos or the agendas, or even somebody else trying to pitch me their idea of what RVD would do or say. Like, all of that is just like blah to me. And I probably will go back. I imagine that I will. In the meantime, I continue to have a merchandise contract with them, so that does prevent me from going, say, to any other wrestling companies, if there were any on the radar of competition level, which they're not. But because of that, I mean, I'm still part of the family, and I probably will go back, but there has to be a reason. And for a long time, the reason for me has been financial interest. If I have a movie or a book to promote, maybe there'll be value in that. But to get me to go back because I have the itch, no, that's not happening.
I know you were a strong advocate for marijuana legalization. There was a poll a few months ago that showed a majority of Americans, I think it's almost 60% now, are in favor of legalizing marijuana. I know there's 4 states where it's now legal. Why do you think on the federal side it's taking more time, I guess, in terms of them coming around on the issue?
Money. It's the whole reason that it's prohibited, because a lot of people don't understand marijuana was prohibited in 1937 because they could make money off it. Marijuana, the plant itself, used as hemp or as medicine or as 25,000 different uses, it threatens a lot of big businesses, and these are big businesses that the government is involved in. It threatens fuel, because hemp seed oil used to be used for fuel. They wanted to put a stop to that. Rockefeller didn't like that competition. And then we have the pharmacy. It threatens the pharmaceuticals, which is a huge cigar business. It threatens the alcohol. It threatens tobacco, which is the number one worst drug that we have, by the way, killing 50% of its long-term users. And it threatens, besides all the materials, wood, back to William Randolph Hearst days of printing paper from wood, and how the pulp from hemp plants that are annual instead of 20-year crops actually produce better. All of that is the reason why they don't want it. The head of the DEA, his job is to protect the rules that were set in 1970 into more changes, not to consider new information.
All right. Well, Rob, I appreciate you taking the time. Anything you want to promote, social media, anything like that, how people can reach you?
No, you can usually find me at The Real RVD on all that. And I got a lot of stuff going on, but not much that I'm talking about. So just fans just need to know that I'm good, and it's always cool being RVD.
Rob, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Have a great night.